Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I just wanted to talk. I don't know, I felt like uploading a video last week, even though I did have a video that I wanted to post. It just didn't feel right posting it, and I also just needed to take a break and kind of step back from social media for a little bit, even though it doesn't really feel like I took a break because I've been talking a lot about what's going on. If you follow me on Twitter and Instagram, it's just been a lot this past few days, weeks. It feels like forever, but I just wanted to turn on the camera and talk because I really enjoy making YouTube videos and just editing and just showing my life. Like, I really do enjoy that. And like I've said so many times on my channel, I do want to look back at my videos and see like, wow, like I did that, or I was feeling that way. So I just wanted to make a video and talk about how I've been feeling and just talk, honestly. I'm gonna do that while I'm also taking out my braids because it has been a month and a half or maybe 2 months and my hair is already kind of growing out on my braids, so I want to take them out and wear my hair out for a little bit. So I guess I should get started. So, how are you all? If anyone hasn't asked you how you are, I'll ask you, how are you? How are you all doing? I'm okay right now. I think when I uploaded my last video, it was around the time that everything had just started happening, especially when I was talking about how I was feeling at the moment. With the death of George Floyd. That was like, I think 2 or 3 days after he died, so, or after the video at least was pretty much spreading everywhere. So yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. And I think something I mentioned in that video, I think I mentioned it, is that whenever someone dies, especially a black person, when they die, an innocent black person dies at the hands of the police, I feel like now I'm just so used to it. Like, it's just like, it doesn't really faze me anymore. It doesn't surprise me because it just happens so much and you get desensitized to it, and it just feels like this is normal now and it should never feel that way. So I remember when Ahmaud Arbery was killed, like, it was just, it I hate to say it, but it didn't really faze me or surprise me. And like, the death of an innocent person, especially someone that looks like you, should never feel that way. I don't know, George Floyd, maybe it's because there were so many deaths in the same month or in such a short time period. Like, that was just it for me personally, especially since, as most of you know, I live in Korea. I don't live in America right now, so that also makes me feel like I'm so far, like I kind of feel far away from all of this, and I feel like sometimes that can feel like a good thing and also a bad thing. Let me get a scrunchie. I feel like sometimes that can feel like a good thing, like, oh, at least, oh my gosh, I look crazy. At least I feel much safer here in Korea. Like, I know that no police officer is gonna shoot me or like kill me for that. Just won't happen here in Korea, and at least it reassures me and knows, and it makes me feel like I'm safe here, relatively safe. Like, bad shit still happens here in Korea. Korea is definitely not perfect. It's not like in K-dramas and all that BS. Korea has its own problems, but I definitely feel a lot safer here in Korea than I would in the States. I will say that for a fact. But it also feels disconnecting because I feel like more hopeless, like there's nothing I can do because I'm so far away. And that was something really hard to accept. Oh gosh, I look crazy. That was something that was really hard to accept and deal with, especially with all of the protests and things that are going on in the States, and now it's become a worldwide thing, which is great. That's amazing. But especially when it started happening in the States, it felt like this is great. But like, what can I do when I live in Korea? I'm not able to just hop on a plane and go whenever I want. Like, I have a job, I have obligations and things here. And that was definitely something that was hard to accept and deal with in the beginning. I also felt guilty to my family because even though police brutality and things like that don't really happen as much in El Paso where I live, it still happens, and I was definitely still scared for my family, especially my dad, who still goes to work. Scared for my brothers, who all my brothers are very tall. Some of them are in middle school and high school. Like, they look like kids, but because of their height, people act like they're adults or like they're older than they actually are. And so that has scared me for so many years. Me being in Korea and being so far away from all of this feels like I can run away and I'm safe when my family potentially might not be. That was really, really hard for me to process that feeling. Like, I felt guilty for running away from all the things that are happening in the States. That's not why I came to Korea. It just happened to be a nice plus that, you know, things like that don't happen here. But that was definitely something that was hard to process and accept. So in regards to feeling like I can't do anything from here, there are definitely things that you can do if you're not in the States or if you do not live in an area where there are Black Lives Matter protests going on, because there are definitely other protests that are not being organized by the Black Lives Matter organization, but you just definitely need to be careful and do your research of what protests you are going to if you are planning on going to a protest, because you don't want to go to one that does not have the right intentions. So definitely do your research and know what you're doing and who you're actually supporting. But if you're not able to go to a protest, there are so many things that you can do that you don't have to go somewhere in person. You can sign petitions and call Congress members or representatives or mayors and authorities. Even if it's not in your state, you can sign petitions and send out emails to ask for justice and actual change in the policies and laws. You can vote. Something super important that I think if you didn't realize it before, then now you know more than ever. Like, voting matters. Voting really matters. And it's not just at the presidential election. Also, just the city levels, the mayors, the judges, the police, city council, like the council member, like everything. All of those little things matter as well, just as much as the presidential election. If before you didn't think that voting was important, I hope you think now and you see how important voting is. There are other things you can do as well as donating. If you can't donate your money, you can possibly donate your time and help out in your local community. There are YouTube videos that Black people have monetized that you can just put on a loop, and all of the money that is being made from the ads will go straight to organizations like the Black Lives Matter, the Minnesota Freedom Fund, all of the organizations that are basically to help the cause, and also to help with jail bonds for protesters and things like that. So I will link below in the description box some videos that you can watch. There's so many ways that we can get involved, and if you can't do any of that, the biggest thing that you can do is educate yourself. Even I, as a Black person, there are so many things that I don't even know about in Black history, more specifically American history. If y'all didn't know, I am Nigerian, so both of my parents were born and raised in Nigeria and came to the US, and even though like I'm Nigerian American, whatever you want to call it, I'm still black. But I do feel like because of my Nigerian upbringing, which is another point that I want to talk about, I guess I can talk about that. But because of my Nigerian upbringing, I feel like a lot of us kids that our parents came from Africa, not just Nigeria, but Africa in general, we were always kind of brought up with this mentality of we are better than African Americans or Black Americans. We don't act the way they do. Basically, like from a young age, we were pretty much given this idea that we're better than them. We're the better Black people. And I feel like, and let me get my thoughts before I speak. I feel like as a kid, you don't see the problematicness of that, especially because it's your parents telling you this. And it's not just your parents, it's all the other people in your community are saying this. And for a while, you start to internalize that, like, I'm not ghetto. I don't act that way. I act respectful. I speak a certain way. I have certain aspirations. Like, I'm going to go to college and not be on the streets. Like, I don't know if African parents knew that how they were thinking was problematic, or if that was just their way of trying to instill in us, like, we moved to this country so you could have a better opportunity, so don't ruin it, basically. I don't know if they realized how problematic and how damaging that mentality is, but definitely as I grew older and wiser, I realized, like, that's not right. Like, how are we Black people pitting ourselves against each other? So I feel like this whole African versus Black American, African Americans, like, it needs to die. Like, please stop. Like, at the end of the day, if a police officer stops you and you are an African, they literally do not give a shit, because at the end of the day, you are still Black and they will still kill you or treat you like they would a Black American. So it doesn't matter if you have a master's, it doesn't matter if you're a doctor, it doesn't matter that you made a life for yourself and your family and you came from nothing. They literally do not give a shit. You are still a Black person and they will still kill you. So this whole narrative of we're better than them, we're smarter than them, we're just better than them, like, you can't compare yourself to an African American, which I really don't like that term. We're all Black people. I see people calling Black people from Europe and Canada African Americans. So I really think that term needs to just die. I don't know. How do any of you that are Black from America or from other countries, how do you feel about that term African American? I feel like I never identified with it because even though I am Black and I do live in America, my parents came from Africa. So calling me an African American just felt like, also it might also have to do with the whole mentality of you can't compare yourself to an African American from America that originated from slaves, because you didn't. Like, we're better than that, basically, that whole mentality. So I think that I also internalized that and was so quick to always tell people, I'm not African American. I'm not African American. My parents came from Nigeria. Like, I am not an ancestor of slaves. Like, when I think about that, that is so, even though it is true, the place of where that's coming from, like, it just sounds so negative. So how do you all feel about that whole thing? Or if you didn't even know about or even realize that or think about that. I hope we can have nice discussions in the comments below. And I do see people talking about this on Twitter sometimes. So I definitely feel like the whole African versus African Americans, and then being a first generation Nigerian American, where I don't have the same struggle of Black people that originated from slaves in America, but I'm also not fully seen as like an African when I go to Nigeria. Like, it's so obvious that you're an American. You're not one of us. Like, you don't talk like us. You don't even speak the language. Even though you understand it, it's still not enough. And there's always been that internal struggle of like, I'm not African enough. I'm not black enough. So what am I? And that has been a struggle that I know that I'm not the only one that feels that way. So it's all just, it's a big struggle, and I feel like it's something that hinders black people as a whole from coming together and making real and big amounts of change, because we're already pitting ourselves against each other before we can even try and do something. Another thing that has been bothering me is the lack of people saying anything on social media. And I know that not everyone I know uses social media like on a daily basis, and that's fine. I don't really mean those people. I mean people that are posting selfies and posting pictures of, I don't know, their food or their pets, and just acting like all of this stuff isn't going on, especially people that I personally know. That's the main thing. People that I personally know, people that I consider my friends, and seeing them not say anything. It's one thing if you don't use social media. Okay, I'll give you that. But if I constantly see you posting pictures of your food or your pets or whatever the fuck you're doing, and you're not a black person, that's another thing. If you're not a black person, I can understand for black people that are not posting anything. It's hard because this is literally our lives. This is something that, like, this is just the black struggle, and it is so fucking overwhelming. Like, if you are a black person and you're not posting anything, I can understand that because that's literally our life struggle. But I mean non-black people that are, especially people that I personally know and I consider my good friends. You have not reached out to me to ask me how I'm doing, and you definitely don't have to, but it's noted. You are not saying anything, but I see you posting pictures of just things that really don't matter. I see you looking at my stories on Instagram that are literally talking about everything that's going on. Like, if you follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and even on my personal Facebook, which I don't really use very often, I've been sharing a lot of things and posting a lot of things that a lot of people need to see, because Texas isn't the most, there's a lot of racist people, just like there are a lot of racist people everywhere. And I feel like in El Paso, people are so quick to say, El Paso's safe, nothing ever happens here. Like, don't bring that protesting shit here because it's gonna make us look bad. But El Paso has never been perfect. There are racist shit that goes on in El Paso, and not just to black people, even to people from Mexico. So, and you would think that El Paso, which is literally on the border of Mexico, that people wouldn't be so racist and they would see blatantly racist behavior. But no, El Paso is not innocent, and El Paso definitely has a long history of racism. So it really irritates me and makes me so angry when I see people saying, that stuff doesn't happen here. El Paso's safe, don't bring that stuff here. Like, that Black Lives Matter stuff, don't bring it here. How can we be racist? We don't even have majority white people here. We can't be racist. Like, shut the fuck up, please. Like, shut the fuck up. And when I'm seeing people that I personally know not say anything, yet they look at all my stories, they liked my posts that were literally about Black Lives Matter, and how I'm literally saying, I'm tired of seeing people that look like me dying. None of them, not none of them, most of them have not even reached out to me or even shared, not even just a single post on their pages. And that hurts. That's been something that has really been bothering me from the beginning of all of this. And you know what? I get it. I get that a lot of people are police officers, or they have police officers in their families, and, like, you know, they feel like they can't say anything about it, but then they also feel like they don't want to betray their family members or their jobs or whatever. But when you see innocent people dying simply just because of the color of their skin, you're telling me that you support that. That it makes me so angry to just think about, honestly. It's something that has been really upsetting me, especially because a lot of these people I am and I considered myself very close to them. And it really hurts. And at the end of the day, you know, people don't have to message me like, hey, how are you? I promise I support Black Lives Matter. Like, you're important to me. But these are people that I really considered close to me. And I've heard nothing, I've seen nothing, even though I see them active on social media. And that really hurts. And I get that for some people, they don't know, they feel embarrassed or they don't know how to say something. But the more you sit in silence, that's not helping anyone. That's not helping you. That's not helping the community. And I guarantee you that if you are feeling that way, maybe I have racist tendencies or I've learned racist behaviors, I guarantee you that there are people in your family or people that are in your close circle that are racist, and they need, even not every racist person can be changed, but at least bringing up those things to someone, maybe it could possibly change someone. I know that I'm not the only one that's feeling this way and experiencing this as a Black person. It's been a lot lately. There's so many things that have been going through my head, so many emotions that I've been having to process, and I just feel like letting it out. One thing that I'm very grateful for here in Korea is that I have many Black friends, even my friends that aren't Black. Like, I have a great community of people that I can reach out to for advice, people that are for the cause and actually care about making change and equality and justice and all that stuff. Speaking of Korea, how is Korea handling this whole deal? There's a lot that's been going on, but I will say that before all of this was even a thing or even being talked about here, the way that foreigners have been treated in Korea has not been the best lately because of the Itaewon Club incident. Koreans just assumed that Itaewon means foreigners, which means that foreigners are the ones spreading the virus, when that is not true of the whole Itaewon coronavirus club incident. Like, it was a whole Korean man that was spreading it, not foreigners. But anyway, because of that, a lot of people have been treating foreigners very rudely. And I will say that even before the whole Itaewon Club thing, to be honest, even after the whole thing, like, nothing changed for me. Like, people still act rudely, honestly, sometimes towards me. If anything, maybe the staring increased. And there's staring when you're a foreigner and there's staring when you're a Black person. And I definitely feel like a lot of people feel like more unsafe around me. I feel like as a Black person, you just are so used to that, people holding their bag tighter when you walk by. Or now what I've recently been seeing is a lot of Koreans haven't really been wearing masks because they think that coronavirus is not a thing anymore. So you'll see a lot of Koreans not wearing masks with their families or with their kids. Like, in one instance, I saw two grandparents and their grandkids on bikes, and they were not wearing masks, but we were at like a crosswalk intersection thing. I was right across from them, and when they noticed me, they were like panicking because the crosswalk light was about to change green and we would have to pass by each other. Mind you, of course, I was wearing a mask, and they were panicking because they weren't wearing masks, so they were trying to scramble to put the masks on their faces and their kids. Yet this entire time that they were going around the entire city, they did not wear masks. But because they just happened to see me, a Black person, they wanted to scramble so fast to put their mask on because I was going to infect their kids. like, or their grandkids, and that pissed me the fuck off. There's been a lot of little microaggressions and things like that have been happening, but honestly, I feel like since this entire experience of the whole Koreans blaming foreigners for the virus now, they basically just need someone to blame it onto. That's not themselves. A lot of people that never really felt attacked before, especially in Korea, because in Korea it's so easy to think that nothing ever happens here, everything is perfect here and things are safe. A lot of people that never felt that way, a lot of foreigners that never felt that way, were suddenly getting like a tiny taste of what Black people and people of color in not just America but in other countries go through, and they just felt so triggered and attacked by every little thing. And it's just funny to watch that all go down. And then when the things that are going on in America started happening, it was like no one was talking about it. And it's just like, okay, so you finally experience a little taste of discrimination and racism, and then when it's happening in your own country, crickets, nothing. And I feel like it wasn't until it was trendy to post about Black Lives Matter and trendy to post a square box that showed that you stand with Black people and you care about us, that's when I started seeing more people talking about it. And that is like such a slap in the face. It pisses me off to talk about it, to be honest. In terms of Korea and Koreans, with the whole George Floyd and police brutality and all the stuff that's going on in America, at first the only things they were showing on Korean news was the looting, and it was just like, you're focusing on the tiniest percentage of what is happening in America right now. Like, that is literally not even relevant. Like, an innocent Black man was killed by a police officer and you're talking about looting. Like, that's not the point. That's not the point of what's going on. And honestly, in a nutshell, that's Korea, to be very honest with you. But now they're showing and talking about the actual police brutality and the actual injustices that Black people have been facing. And I have been seeing that they're showing the video of George Floyd on the news, not censored, like everything, which is kind of shocking in Korea because they censor like everything. Like, they'll censor like a knife. Even I've seen in a drama where they censored like scissors, but they won't censor like the actual death of a Black man. And that's something that really pisses me off, because now it's just like, it's just a show to everyone. Like, it's so normalized to show the death of a Black man. Like, that's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. No one sees any problem in showing the death of an innocent Black man for everyone to see. But I will say, at least now it's being talked about on the news. It's everywhere on the news here, and Koreans know about it. Like, there's no way that you can say, oh, I had no idea. And that is another thing that really pisses me off. But let me continue on this point. It's on the news everywhere, and Koreans know about it. And I feel like something that's really been pissing me off lately is that no one in my school has said anything. Like, this is my second year working here. You all know me. Like, don't act like you don't know me. I know that at least half of the teachers in the school speak English. Even if you don't want to talk to me, I know you speak English. And especially with my co-teachers, like, these are people that I have to teach with every week. These are some people that I became really close with in my first year. I'm very comfortable with my co-teachers, and I know that they all know what's going on. Like, you can't act stupid at this point. Like, you know what's going on. And none of my co-teachers, except my main co-teacher, the day that I pretty much broke down crying all day at school, she just knew something was wrong, and so she reached out to me, and I told her, like, this is what's going on in America. This was like 2 or 3 days after the video of George Floyd was going around, so I was really, really, really in my feelings. Like, I was crying all day. I think that was like at least 2, was it a week? It feels like it was like a month ago, but it was only maybe 2 weeks ago. But since then, nothing. nothing from my other teachers. I don't know exactly how the Korean media is painting this picture, but I do remember when I was telling my co-teacher about like this innocent black man was killed by a white police officer and this is something that happens all the time in America. She was like, "Oh, is it because, coronavirus, like the coronavirus situation is just stressing Americans and that's why he like attacked him and killed him because, stress from the virus?" And I'm like, "No, this is something are you kidding me? Stress from the coronavirus? Really? No, this has been happening for literally years. This is literally the struggle of black people." And that's when it really hit me, like people really don't know about what America is, like the history of America. And I get it, people from other countries don't really have to learn about American history. It's not their country's history, but I feel like at this point everyone should know about slavery in America. Like it's not something that you can hide from. And again, it's 2020. Google is free. Like you can educate yourself on these things. And maybe it's also because I am a black person, so I feel like even though I might not be the ancestors, my ancestors are not slaves, it's still a struggle that I have to carry on my back just from being a black person. So hearing that, it just made me like, did you just say that to make me laugh, like to tell me a joke? But she was being completely serious. I feel like that's been really hurtful, not hearing any of my coworkers say anything, and it just makes me feel like I don't matter, like I'm not important. What's going on in America isn't a Korean problem, it doesn't matter. And that hurts too. Like, why am I in this country where I already don't feel like my life is important or people care about me? Sure, it's not the same discrimination and racism as I would feel in the States, but it's not that great being black and living in Korea either. And I feel like no matter where in the world you live, being black is something that will always follow you in a negative way. And that also sucks. I feel like I've been talking to this camera forever, so I'm gonna finish the rest of my hair and then come back on camera because this video is already long enough. So I'm finally done taking my hair out. My hair is so dirty. I do hope that someone is able to take something out of this video. And I just really wanted to share how I've been feeling these past few days and weeks. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that I keep hearing a lot of people saying, "I had no idea this was going on. I had no idea it was this bad." And it's just like, how do you, like, as a black person, this is our everyday life. Like, even if it's just the smallest things like your hair and going to work or trying to get a job, like these little things are part of a large picture, and this is something that black people have been having to deal with since slavery. And if you are a non-black person and you are choosing to say, "I don't want to talk about it," those things don't really happen. This is all made up. You are part of the problem. You are not seeing your privilege, and you are ignoring a very, very big problem and issue that is going on. And it's not just an American thing. This is going on all over the world. As glad as I am seeing people talk about this and making it more aware, I do think that for some people it's not really them showing their true intentions and they're just posting a black square just to say, "Oh, Black Lives Matter and I support you," and all that stuff, but they don't really support it. They're just doing it so they're not canceled or they're not seen as a bad person. But it's not just what you post on social media, it's also the conversations you're having with your family, your friends, your workspace. It's also the internal conversations that you're having with yourself and trying to undo the things that you've been learning since you were born or whatever you were taught. Even myself as a black person, there are so many things that I need to educate myself on. So again, I will leave some links in the description box in ways that you can help support the cause, whether it's donating money or if it's watching YouTube videos, that all of the money from the ads in the video will go to be donated to organizations or you can sign petitions, you can send out emails, or even just watching documentaries or reading books and just knowing exactly what happened in American history, because a lot of the stuff that we're taught when we're kids is not the real story, or it's not the full story. I'd really like to know how you all are doing, especially for those of you that are Black that are watching this video or that you're subscribed to my channel. I just want to know, if no one has asked you, I'll ask you. How are you? I hope you're doing well. And yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you all are staying safe and well. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you hopefully in my next video. Bye.